Morning everyone. John here, back in the kitchen. But we're not gonna do any cooking today. Wanted to make this video for a while now, but I didn't really know how to quite go about doing it. But now I have an idea because I've kind of gotten these things that I wanted to talk about piecemeal within the last few months or so. So what we're gonna talk about today is cookware. I know this is a food channel, mainly talk about food, but I think we should also talk about the equipment that we use, especially what I use when I cook and prepare meals. I think I talked about my knives before, just a little bit. Maybe I'll make another video about that. What I mainly wanted to focus on today is non-stick cookware. This is not a sponsored video by any means. I'm going to talk about pots, pans, but what I mainly want to talk about is how to take care of your non-stick cookware. What I see a lot in the kitchen, especially when I watch other YouTubers or other cooks, even chefs in the kitchens in businesses, is that they use some type of non-stick material in their kitchens. And a lot of times what I see and makes me cringe are the pots, the pans, usually the pans that are peeling or have already completely peeled. Have you ever seen a pan that looked like this? And that concerns me because that's not really too safe to be ingesting, to be eating, and to be cooking with. And I'm not going to go into the science of how non-stick coating works, but for the most part, all non-stick surfaces are coatings. They are painted on, for lack of a better term. It's basically a paint. It's a material that adheres to the surface just like a paint. They start with a primer. If you guys know anything about painting, right, you start with a primer and then you put the main coat on, or however many coats you need to put on any given surface. The same thing with any non-stick surface like this. They usually start with bare metal and then they paint on a primer and then they put on the non-stick coating, and that's that. Some manufacturers say that coatings are based on the better primers. I don't know how true that is. I have no way of confirming that, but there are cheaper and more expensive cookware, and we can all attest to that by the different brands that we see being sold either on TV or in the stores. But one thing is for certain, all non-stick surfaces will, and again, you can quote me on this, they will eventually fade, they will eventually lose their effectiveness. That means when, however many years, it might be 5 years, 10 years, your food is going to start sticking to the pan. There's really no way around that. It's just the nature of the beast. So the more you use it, the more you expose it to the elements, the more you cook with it. There is no way that that particular surface will stay intact just by cooking, applying heat to it, and the way you take care of it or not take care of it, it will eventually lose its effectiveness. All right, so here are some tips that you can use in your own households on how to prolong the life of your non-stick cookware. Always use medium flame or medium heat while cooking. Your non-stick pan or pot is not a high carbon or a cast iron pan. It cannot withstand very, very high levels of heat. So keep it at medium, and you'll be sure that your pan will last longer than those who don't use medium flame. Tip number 2, when you are done cooking, do not submerge this in cold water, or do not throw cold water into your pan or pot. Why is that? I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Fantastic Four. Do you remember this scene? In this scene, Mr. Fantastic asks, what happens when you rapidly cool hot metal? Referring to Dr. Doom being scorching hot. that's what happens. It becomes brittle. So you basically destroy metal when you cool it very, very fast. And that's the same thing that's going to happen to your pan if you throw cold water on there after you finish cooking. Let it cool on your stove, give it about a half an hour, and then you can go ahead and wash it. Next tip, when you're ready to wash this, make sure you use a lot of water and soap with the water, just like that. And then go ahead and use your sponge. Do not use a scouring or a rough material, brush or a sponge that has rough material that can scratch the surface. Always use something soft. It's a non-stick surface. So if there's any burnt on or any materials or food materials that are sticking on there, it should easily be removed, by just a couple of swirls or a couple of swirls of your sponge. It's not rocket science, folks. After you finish washing, just wipe it down. Make sure it's dry. Go ahead and store it. Now, for those of you who use a rice cooker like this, there's a non-stick pot inside, right? This happens to have rice that just got done cooking. But this is what I used, and this is what I did when I prepared the rice for cooking. So please pay close attention to what I'm doing here. When cooking rice in a non-stick pot, make sure you put water first before putting in your rice, like so. This prevents the rice from scratching the bottom of your pot. So I just want to show you a picture of this old rice cooker pot that I've been using for more than 10 years. And as I've said earlier, there's really no way around this happening. As you can see, the damage that was done. Again, it's Teflon or whatever non-stick material it is. It will eventually peel off, and it will come off of the metal portion of the pot. So there's really no way. There's no real way around that. The only way to prolong this is to follow the steps that I've mentioned here. So there you go. I hope you found that useful. And I hope I could save you money, right? You don't want to be buying pots and pans every 2 or 3 years, right? You want to prolong their life as long as you possibly can. And if you follow these tips, I'm sure you'll get some good use out of your non-stick pots and pans. So guys, thank you for hanging out with me here in the kitchen. This is John, Foodie A1C, saying so long. Peace. I am out.